Instagram. We are live. It is a nostalgic full circle moment, y'all. I am so excited to officially welcome you to Single Wives Live. Now, for those of y'all who ain't new to this, you are true to this, and you have been down with your girl for a while, then you know that I am not new to the relationship readiness space. And I have always had a heart for single women and this special struggle that Black women specifically tend to go through when we are seeking to become wives. And so, way back in 2010, I found myself in a position that a whole lot of other single women find themselves in. And so, I want to just know, from y'all, you can let me know in the chat, can you relate? So, when I was 24 years old, I had decided, I had predetermined that 25 was my deadline for being somebody's wife. That was the timeline that I had given myself. Like 25 was like elderly. Okay. By 25, I knew that clock was just going to be tick, tick, ticking. And I had decided that that was my goal. And so at 24, I got real serious. I learned about even more about the law of attraction and manifestation. And I wrote this letter to God and ended up manifesting everything that was in this list, everything that I said I wished and prayed and hoped for in a man. And y'all, it was a mess. And the man that I manifested was a mess. And the reason why I got myself into this mess is because guess what? I was a mess. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned in my single season was that what you are attracting is a result or a reflection of who you are and what you're putting out. And so now that I am, in this wife position that I prayed to be in, I'm in this position realizing that I was not prepared for it. As much as I prayed for it, I was not prepared for it. And so, for those single ladies who are out there that you don't necessarily have a resource to go to ask questions and get help, you don't necessarily know healthy, happy wives who you can turn to or send a quick text message to, or who you can even relate to. This is meant to be a safe space where you can hear from healthy, happy wives who do things our own way. And a part of what I want to share tonight and what I think is going to come out in this conversation is the fact that there is no right way or no perfect formula to be a perfect wife. And so the theme of this conversation is becoming the wife that you want to be. So 5 examples, 5 women who I'm sure do things differently. We have a range of different experiences, but hopefully this conversation will inspire you and help you to keep the faith in love. Okay. I definitely want to tap into the seasons in which we, I don't want to say found love because I know we're the wives and we were found and all of the things, but I want to tap into where we were individually in that season. So that we can hopefully again be relatable to someone that's watching, provide you with hope and encouragement, and empower you to take action towards what you actually desire and deserve. So, the Single Wives Club started out as an organization, relationship readiness organization, and although it is no longer around, this is our resource for those single women who are preparing to become wives. So our one is all about inspiration, and we're going to be answering your questions, the questions that y'all submitted that you probably didn't have anyone else to really ask these questions to. And then at 7 o'clock, my girl Allison Wellington, who is a certified dating and relationship coach, she is going to be here to snatch edges and let you know if you are if you are inspired after this first hour. Let's give you the information so that you can actually start taking action so that you can create this life, this love life that you desire. Okay. Now I'm going to stop running my mouth for just a second because I want to give this amazing panel of beautiful wives an opportunity to introduce yourselves. So I would love to go around. Latoya, I'm going to start with you. I would love to just go around and just share. I'm going to pull up y'all's names. I don't know why they're not popping up, but I'll add your name so that everybody can see who they are hearing from. But just share your name, how long you've been married, and I want you to share your wife style. So your wife style being traditional wife, whatever you define that as, or modern wife, or a little mix of both. So your name, how long you've been married, and then your wife style. So I'm Coriel, obviously your hostess with the mostest for this evening. I have been married for 3 years, and I would say my lifestyle is a mix. I want to be bossy sometimes, but I also love being the baby too. So I am a mix of both of the wife styles.
Boss
What about
baby.
you?
So I am Latoya. I have been married for 20 years. And my lifestyle, I'd have to say, is traditional.
Okay, I can't wait to tap into this 20 years of traditional. Okay. Hey, Ashley, I think you're muted. There
How
you
about
go.
now? We get hey, ladies. So Latoya, the 20 years. Yes, I'm here for it. I'm Ashley. I have been married for 5 years now. And similar to Korea, I'm gonna say it's a mix because my husband found me in my independent woman season. However, I'm learning to just submit and allow him to lead. So mix of both.
I love that. This is going to be a real honest conversation. Okay. It is not going
Mhm.
to be a perfect conversation, and nobody up here considers themselves to be an expert. So let me just give that little disclaimer also. Even though Latoya, you might have expert status at this point. Precious, what you got, girl?
Hi guys,
Yeah.
I'm Precious K. Williams. I have been married for going on 11 years to my best bud. That's my and so I would say that as a Christian wife, I would probably be considered modern, but to my girls in the internet streets, I'm probably a mix. So, um, yeah,
Mhm.
That's a good point too, because it depends on whose scale we talking
exactly.
about.
Mhm.
Very true.
In
Mhm.
my daddy's eyes, I'm beyond modern because I'm West African. So he like, what is going on here?
Okay.
What is
But
Mhm.
that's
where?
even the point of this whole thing is like not even subscribing to whatever we think we have to be, but like it can
Mhm.
work as long as you make it work. So Crystal, what
Yeah.
about you? I'm super excited that we were able to get you in on this combo.
Thank you. Well, my name is Crystal Jordan, and I am a little bit different. This is my second marriage. I was married for 11 years the first time, did a good amount of singletude of being single, and now I've been married for 3 years to the love of my life. But I'm thankful that God gave me a second chance. There's a lot of things I didn't know the first time. So I would say this time it is definitely a mix, but we're in a different season, so I guess I can be in a different type of wife because we are empty nesters now, so things are a little bit different.
Wow.
What does y'all screen look like? Okay, we at Katana, you're there. Can y'all see Katana?
Yes.
Hey, ladies.
Okay.
Hey, hey.
Technology fails us sometimes. So this is making me happy. Hey, Katana girl, perfect timing. Okay, so introduce yourself. Well, I just introduced you. This is Katana, y'all. But how many years have you been married? And then share your wife style. So modern wife versus traditional wife, or a little mix of both.
Hello, ladies. My name is Katana, and I am a newlywed. I've only been married 8 months, but I am a happy wife, and I would consider myself a modern wife for sure.
Okay, so listen, y'all, from 8 months to 20 years, you are about to hear 6 different examples. And I love, Crystal, that we have the added benefit of like that lesson learned. I just feel like there's so much value in quote unquote failed experiences, like the lessons that you pick up when you didn't get the result that you set out for.
Mhm.
Monumental. So I love that we're going to be able to even
Mhm.
hear that part of it.
Mhm.
Okay, so I didn't even, y'all, prepare questions for tonight because I took questions from the people who signed up. I really wanted to make sure we were answering questions that these ladies feel like I don't have a auntie or a mama or a home girl that I can ask who I feel like is a healthy, happy, wife. And you don't really know if we are truly healthy, happy wives, but I feel like women who went out of their way to volunteer for an opportunity to come share wisdom, to come teach a lesson, to come share information that they wish somebody would have taught them. I feel like everybody's here, with a good intention and coming from a spirit of wanting to lift another sister up. And so take
Mhm.
from this what you will. If it's not for you, leave it behind. But just know that everybody is here with the mission to truly help other women figure out their journey. That's it. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so we can all touch and agree on that. All right, so first question, this question I do want everyone to answer, and then after this one, I'm gonna throw out questions that were submitted. And if you feel like that's me, I got that, feel free to jump in. Okay. So the follow-up question to my last question of your wife style, are you the wife style that you thought you would be as a wife? Because I think a lot of times we have this wife idea, just like the mom thing, but we ain't, that's gonna be in May. Okay, we ain't gonna talk about but we have this idea, it's like the Claire Huxtable, probably for lack of better words, kind of thing. And that ain't always reality. So based on what you thought you were gonna be, are you, living that out, or did you find yourself changing a little bit? And anybody can hop in first.
I don't mind hopping in. Once again, I'm Precious. I'm a mommy wellness coach, but I have been married for a while, and I am not. I am on two ends. I am the wife that I wanted to be, but I thought that I might fall into old habits. I thought that based on watching my mom live a very, very patriarchal marriage, some might call, where basically it was his way or the highway in front of the kids, right? And very domestic. I mean, she cooked all the time. I already knew that, Lord, this is not who you made me to be. So I did not want to do that, and nor did I think I would be good at that. And so it took my husband to, and we were still dating. He was like, I'm not your dad, right? Like, I'm not calling you to do these things. Like, I like to cook. Like, I'm good. Like, I keep a pretty good tidy bachelor pad. We gonna be okay. Like, we're building something different. So in some ways, I am the wife I was like, oh, I hope I'll be this way. But something in me, I didn't really trust myself. And I think somebody asked, like, having an aversion to marriage based on what you saw. I was like, God, if I'm gonna get married, and it's gonna be like that. I need to stay single. But I loved him, and I was like, let's go, let's do this thing. So thankfully, I am not the wife I thought I would fall into, the habits I thought I would fall into. And even more so, I know my teenage self is super proud. Like, girl, yes, like you out here, and it's a partnership. And it takes work to build that marriage, but I'm thankful that I'm not the wife I thought I was going to be.
I love that. I love that because we often think that if you grow up in a two-parent household, if you grow up seeing a traditional, gender roles, then that is ideal, which, for the most part, that is ideal compared to the alternatives. But
Right.
I have not really thought about how that could turn you off from what is expected of you if that's not the role you see yourself in, which again is the whole point of this conversation. Because if you grow up in a traditional home and that's all you know, that could make you say, marriage is not for me. Who else? What else y'all got?
I'll go. I would say that it's interesting because I was always very career driven. And so I think initially I saw myself as someone that would want to be very modern. And what I wanted to be was a contradiction, I believe. I wanted to be a modern woman with a traditional man. And what I have learned is that um, me being a modern woman and acting in that way does not motivate a man to be traditional, and it motivates him to be modern. And I desired a more traditional man. And so what I had to learn now is I'm a mix, but I'm learning to be more traditional in certain ways because that inspires what I want from my husband. And so I didn't realize that because I wasn't taught that. So I saw all this idea of I want to be this career woman that does all this amazing stuff, but then I also wanted to be treated very much like, a traditional wife. And so I've had to learn to sacrifice and figure out my own place based on what I want from my husband as opposed to just what I want for myself. And I'm still in that learning process now, but I think that's what I hear the most. Even my first marriage, I think that's one of the reasons it failed was because I had no idea of what I was putting out was what the energy that I was feeding him was getting a return that I wasn't happy with and that he wasn't happy with. And so I think as women we have to understand if you want to be a modern woman, you're probably going to find a modern man or a man that's comfortable in that space.
That part.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we don't want to accept. But look, lesson learned.
Lesson
That's
learned.
really,
And
really hard
learning.
lesson learned.
I'm learning because you don't, I'm going through it and I'm realizing, wait a minute, Crystal, you came into this thinking what you wanted, but not what he wanted or what he wants to receive. And so really, I think I'm learning that marriage is even more sacrifice than I realized, even after
Mm-hmm.
having a failed marriage. So
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I am learning.
I promise
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna stop interjecting, but y'all, one of the conversations that I keep hearing from single men, because again, single ladies, I know y'all are here like, help us,
Hmm.
please. One of the things that I keep hearing is in a man's position, their perception is women are very selfish in the reasons that we're seeking marriage. That we are only thinking, to your point, Crystal, about what we're gonna get, what we want,
Mm-hmm.
and not ever considering what that partner who we say we want, what they actually want. And so we're presenting them with whatever we have, and we're like, take it. Why you don't want it? You know, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
prize, come get it. And
Mm-hmm.
this is not, you might be for somebody else, but this is not what this person that you desire actually wants. So
Mm-hmm.
taking the emotions out of it, thinking logically, what does the person who I want, right?
That's the
And
key,
then
though. That's the key,
having
though.
Yes.
But I
Mm-hmm.
think, like for a lot of us, we didn't know, and I think there's nothing wrong. I just want to say to the women that are watching, there's nothing wrong with not knowing. There's nothing wrong because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that. Right, I was a single. Grew up in a single parent family. Then my grandmother was single. She divorced her husband, so I didn't see that. So all I saw was very independent women that shared what they wanted, and never did I get a chance to hear the other side. So there's nothing wrong with not knowing, but once you realize that maybe I don't know, opportunities like this are a big, it's a big part of you trying to make sure that you're doing your part. So being open, being accountable, and being open
Mm-hmm.
to hear from women that are in the place, I think is ideal. But don't feel bad just because you may not know, because we don't know
Mm-hmm.
until we have a chance to learn from other women like this.
Mm-hmm.
and then when you get married, it's gonna be a whole nother group of things that you don't know then too.
Girl.
You
Get
just
ready
said,
to not be
Say
knowing.
you
that again.
just
Mm-hmm.
just
Who
said,
else?
dude. I want to
Katana,
go.
Ashley, go ahead.
I was just to feed off of what Crystal was sharing in terms of I wholeheartedly agree coming into marriage and coming from a single parent household, having examples of marriage around me, but it was a lot of I know I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. And I definitely don't want that. But looking for sources of, well, what are the things that I do want in a marriage and how do I want
Mm-hmm.
to be? Because again, career has been number one. And so you just need to support my career, allow me to do what I need to do, love on me, and then just allow me to do what I need. Take what I'm giving. And my husband was like, "Yeah, baby, that's cute, but that's not gonna work." It's like that's not gonna work for me because just as much as yes, I see you are a prize, I'm a prize too. And
Mm-hmm.
so here's what I expect. Here's how I want to be loved, how I want to be treated, what I need in a wife. And it was just like, oh, excuse me. But Corio, to your point, taking the emotion out and thinking logically, like, no, this is serious. Like, he does need to have these things because I do want a man that has one, two, three. But then that doesn't mean that he's not going to also come to the table to say, well, I need my wife, my life partner to be responsible, to do this, to do this, to do this. And so being equally yoked, if you will, and having some kind of foundation to stand on. So I realized quickly coming into marriage that while I wanted it and I was in love with what I saw of, oh, being married is this, not necessarily understanding the behind the scenes work that is required in order to show up in a photo and not just look happy, but be happy, but like who you're with. Because you can love your partner, but do you like your partner? And
Mm-hmm.
days that fluctuates. I'm sure we all know that. However, is it that the majority of the time? And it was a rude awakening. It was, I appreciated the intentionality that he came with in order to soothe my fears from what I saw. In addition to when we met, my mom was murdered that year in a domestic violence crime. And so it was it was just a very weird but a very hard time. And so to come in and want to see a man in such a different light, showing me something very different than what I had been experiencing or had witnessed, was just mind blowing to me. And so he had to take a different approach, but at the same time, hey, Ashley, I also need you to do these things and follow through. And so that really cultivated sort of what my lifestyle is still becoming. But it definitely was totally different than what I thought it was going to be about.
Listen, I did not realize that it was not rainbows and fairy tales and all fun and lots of sex and all the, all the, it is so much of
Baby.
of work. It is so much of a responsibility. That's a better word, responsibility. It is not like fun and games. It is not what we saw in the fairy tales. And I think that is the importance of having these conversations, and not to scare anybody away, but knowing what you're getting yourself into as much as you can, and being prepared for that, and being prepared to pull your weight, whatever your partner desires, not what you feel like doing, not what your mama told you was all that you got to do, like what that person, individual, desires. That's what it is. And so I love that, we can all pull from different experiences. I want to get into this traditional wife for 20 years though. What does that look like, Latoya? Like, how do you define traditional, and what does that look like for you?
So the way I would define traditional is what you grew up off of. The Claire Huxtable, I'm trying to think of good black ones. Roseanne, Family Matters, those moms, those are the traditional wives. And so I did all of that. When I entered my marriage, it was really big for me to make sure my husband was fed every day. I wanted to wash his clothes and fold his clothes and iron, because I grew up in a traditional household. Things changed, seasons change, kids come into the picture. And so we put a little twist on our traditional, but I never pictured that I would be the wife that I am today. Always thought that I would lead the household. I have a very strong personality. I wanted to lead. I wanted him to follow me, that type of thing. But I had to sacrifice. I had to put my ego aside. And my husband always says, let's just keep it simple. That's what works for us. Let's just keep it stupid, simple, and just go with the flow. So that's what we do. We just go with the flow. And that has created a bond and a friendship that cannot be broken. We just refuse to let it be broken. So traditional is just building a friendship, loving each other, putting each other first, keeping everybody else back there. Not to say we don't have a support system, but we keep it as just us. And that's as simple as it's going to get, just us two. We have 3 kids, it's just us 2. So that's what traditional looks like. When I entered my marriage, I thought that's what it would look like, but I was 18 when I got married. So I didn't know exactly what I was walking into. Even after being in a healthy home, with watching a healthy marriage and being surrounded by that, I didn't know what I was walking into. But when he said keep it simple, that's exactly what we did, and that's what works for us.
That's what works for us. Put that down in your notebook. That's what works for us. Okay, that's what we're going for here. Crystal, I want you to hop in right here though, because you said something, Latoya, that I feel like everybody watching this, a hit dog is gonna holler when you say I was independent. Or Ashley, I think you said this too. They found me in my independent season. Like, I was very much so an established person. And Latoya, you were 18, so it wasn't that much established, but you still had your personality. You still were who you were. And I think the older you get, obviously, the more set in your ways. God forbid you got a degree, a little bit of money, some success. It's really challenging for you to sometimes shed that identity of who you have worked so hard to become. That doesn't always work in your marriage. So, Crystal, for you, talk about like the alpha woman, the alpha female, what that looks like how you define that, and how that attitude or how that spirit could be like a challenge when you truly want marriage.
Well, thank you for asking that, Coriel, because I feel like this is my mission now. I feel like our tests, and our failures even become our testimony. And so, I've known you for quite a few years. And when I first met you, I had just gone through my divorce, and as a result of that, my career just skyrocketed. I put everything that I didn't have, all that heartbreak and all that pain, I put it into my career, as so many women do. And as a result, my career responded, right? It was a great return on investment. You take your energy, you take your pain, and you put all that into your career. And I was surrounded by a lot of like-minded women. I have an amazing tribe of leaders. And so when I think of the term alpha female, to me, it meant women that are very career driven, passionate, committed to excellence, want to do a good job, right? And I take pride in my work outside of the house. And it's interesting because my mother was very opposite. My mother was the type of woman that took pride in cleaning and cooking and making sure that everything was, I mean, baseboards were clean. I did not take pride in that. I took pride in making sure that, you know, I had this degree and my book was published at this point and that point. But I realized as a result of going through that, what I had created was a world that was very self-absorbed, right? So being single and being a mom and having all these other amazing girlfriends that were going forward with work, I spent a lot of time focused on what Crystal wanted. So when I would make time to date, because I started to look at dating as what is that going to get me? What return on investment will that give me? Because I know if I put energy into work, I'm going to get a return. Dating felt very much like, well, this is the waste of time because a lot of these guys, as you progress and you start making more money, a lot of men weren't making the amount of money I was. A lot of men weren't doing things, and I started to really judge things in my life based on what the financial return would be. And that was my downfall, right? I didn't realize it because everybody around me was doing the same thing. And we were, egging each other on. So it took a good friend of mine to say, I'd been dating and I was single for 10 years in Atlanta. At that point, I felt like it's a wrap. I'm probably not going to get married again. I had marriage and love. I was absolutely head over heels in love with my ex-husband. That didn't work. Maybe that's not for me. I'm getting ready to, build my house, have my dream house, have my dream career, have my friends and my life. But the reality was I was very imbalanced. I had no balance in life. All I did was work, right? And so a good friend said, Crystal, maybe it's not the guys, maybe it's us. And I was like, no, it is not. It is absolutely not. Because I was, going out and I would apply my theory, my very black and white theory. Well, this doesn't work. Either this guy, you think the guy is turned off by your success, and some of the guys would make very disparaging remarks. But at the end of the day, what I learned through all of this, and it was a process, which is why I wrote the book, Dear Alpha Female, It's Not Him, It's You, because I learned that it was me, because I was imbalanced, because my entire 95%, especially after my kids got older, 95% of Crystal was tied into work. I was not loving myself correctly. I was all what I did. My company, my PR company was the God of my life. And that was not an attractive thing for a partner. So when I would go on a date with my two phones sitting on the table and very, very preoccupied, it was a big turnoff. So these men were not necessarily intimidated by me. They were just not attracted to that energy. And I had to take accountability for that, unfortunately, because I am very, very, I'm not going to say aggressive, but I'm a strong personality. It took someone else with a strong personality to tell me I was wrong and for me to listen to that. And I went on Iyanla Van Zant, Fix My Life, and she got all up in my business and told me I was wrong. But I received it because I think that sisterhood and sistership is so powerful. And when there's another woman that I can look at, I see I'm not my sister's keeper, I am my sister. So when I can see another woman say, you're wrong, and this is why you're wrong, and she explains it to me and she loves me enough to hold me accountable, I appreciated that. And I made a change. And after being single for 10 years and feeling like it was not me, I made some changes in the way I looked at myself. I made some changes in what I was open to and realized that it's not all about what a man is going to add. What return on my investment am I going to get from dating? It's really what can I give, right? What am I able to offer? And I know it was me because in a year and a half, I was engaged. So if it wasn't me, then it wouldn't have been that way. And it was a man that was more amazing than I could have ever imagined. I mean, I fell in love after 45, which is, I was 44. So that was something I did not think I could possibly do. I got divorced at 32 and then remarried at 45. And so in Atlanta, after we've been told that there's no good men in Atlanta, there's pee in a dating pool, I said, you know what? The way I approached business, I never looked at statistics. When statistics tell us as Black women that we can't do something, we ignore those statistics when it's about business.
All the time.
Every single one of you, I don't know personally, but I do know that that when it comes to us, anyone telling a Black woman what they cannot do with their money or with their talent, we do not even allow that to penetrate our aura. However, when it comes to dating, when we hear there are no good Black men, there are no men that want to marry Black women, we allow that to penetrate. And I decided, you know what, just as those statistics are wrong when it comes to me being a single parent, they are also wrong when it comes to me finding love. And when I switched that and I started to speak differently and expect differently, an amazing man showed up and did want the same things that I wanted, because I had allowed myself to get into this negative rhetoric. So I'm just thankful for the opportunity to share with other women. But I feel like with what Miss Iyanla Manzant told me, she said, this is not for you. This is for you to tell other women, because every woman I know was like me. Very, very career driven, very successful in certain terms, but very imbalanced and lacking in just being loved, unconditionally, because most of us don't love ourselves unconditionally. So that's what my entire, purpose right now is tied into is, yes, you can get the bag. We know that. We've proven that. But can you also believe that you are worthy of a beautiful, amazing love?
Yeah.
That. Listen,
Beautiful.
you said so much. We could literally just like drop a mic. But one thing that I really want to pull out and just let marinate for the masses was I was willing to listen when somebody told me I was wrong. That simple, very simple statement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because when we get to this level where we've accomplished so many things, we've achieved so much, we feel like, well, we know everything because I've done this
Mm-hmm.
thing. I know
Mm-hmm.
everything. And that
Mm-hmm.
usually is not the case. So
Mhm.
having someone, a trusted someone, not somebody that's a hater, not somebody that's going to steer you in the wrong direction, but somebody that has your best interest at heart, doesn't have a dog in the fight, that literally just is telling you the honest to God, real, raw truth, that can literally change your life. And so us
Mm-hmm.
just being willing to accept criticism with love,
Mhm.
accept correction, accept direction, especially from people who are doing the things that you want to do. I think that is so that's so important. And obviously that was like a pivotal point. Okay, y'all, I ran my mouth too much. We 30 minutes, got 30 minutes now. So I gotta run through these questions. I'm gonna throw a question out. And if you feel like, girl, this is what I'm here for, jump in. Okay. So the first question, and then if we have time, which I just don't know if we will, I will go to the chat because I see y'all are dropping questions in the chat too. The name of Crystal's book, I think I typed it in there, but it didn't pop up. Dear Alpha Female, it's not him, it's you. I'll type it again in just a second. Okay, so question number one. Did you grow in love with your partner or were you already in love before marriage?
In love.
In love, for sure.
In love.
In love.
And still growing, and still growing because every week, every month, every year, you get something different situations that you don't expect. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my eyes have been open to just see the love and feel the love in different ways.
That,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because it's gonna be different depending on the day of
Yeah,
the
I had
week.
a pastor tell me. I had a
I
pastor
feel
tell me that love is not a
oh, go ahead.
feeling. No, I had a
Go ahead.
pastor tell me that love is not a feeling; it's decision to choose that person every day. And so,
Mm-hmm.
as we grow and evolve, I tell moms and wives all the time, like, you can change, you can pivot, right? We pivot, like Crystal was saying, we pivot and change in every other area. And you think you're going to be the same person that person married 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago, 2 years ago. No, you're going to evolve, but are you going to decide to keep choosing to love each other and learn each
Mm-hmm.
other? I think that's why the love piece is important in the beginning, because, like, okay, I know I love you now. Now let me be willing to keep loving you, keep learning you, and
Yeah.
being willing to adjust and be told what I need to adjust from you throughout our seasons of life.
I want to make a
Mm-hmm.
side note on this one because I feel like just my spirit is telling me that a part of this question is like, I feel like another big challenge that we have once we grow into whoever we think we are is our flexibility in
Mm.
our type
Mm-hmm.
and in that fiery feeling that we just feel like, the fairy tales that told us that we're supposed to feel those butterflies, which, by all means, you probably will. However, I think that how we define in love
Mhm.
it's just not really reality all of the time. And a lot of the wives, and I'm not going to put y'all on the spot to answer this question, but a lot of the wives that I've had conversation with, the husband, like the husband that ended up being the husband, was not necessarily the guy that you wanted to chase down the street because he knocked your socks off, and he was just the end all be all. Like it's not always that. And so I feel like a part of that question was like, did you feel like you had that fire, or did it have to grow on you? And I think a lot of times it grows on you. So I just wanted to put that little side note out there. That the good husband doesn't always, it's not usually the bad boy who is like, bringing butterflies. It's usually
Or
guys.
it may not be what you're looking for. I would just say that because like I've created a list, and on my list were all these good like quality things, but I also had like 6'3" and chocolate with muscles. And I was serious about that. I literally was serious about this height and this color, and I was looking for a certain thing in a certain size. When my husband showed up, he was thin, he was very, very not chocolate. And I was, if I really went by what I had been looking for before, because women sometimes can be very narrow minded. So I would not even have looked at him before. Thought he was attractive, but I wouldn't even have thought he was not on my radar. And he had all the good things. So I think focus on the stuff that matters, the character, the integrity, the family oriented, the putting God first. Focus on that and be open, because I promise now he is 6'2", so I'll take that because I got what God gave me what I needed, but it wasn't necessarily what my mind envisioned. And
That's
when I looked at him, I was like, that ain't him, but it was.
You'll limit yourself based on our limited perspective, because your mind can only envision what you've seen before. So you ain't seen this man that God has created for you. And if you are only looking in this one little box, then you're definitely gonna miss him. Okay,
And
so
also, I'm sorry, before we before we move on, I just wanted to
girl,
say
yeah,
something.
go ahead.
So what I'm picking up from this question also is the question, all right, were you immediately feeling those feelings, or do you have to grow in love in a way of settling? Because can we talk about that as well? Because I see that a lot with women and my friends, and they're like, all of the reasons are there, or the red flags, as we like to call it. And a lot of times we like to ignore those things in the beginning because we as women think we can change a man, or that a man will change for us, but that's not how it works. So for my personal story, yes, it was, I was in love, not immediately, but about 20 days in or something. So maybe that is immediately, but the love has been so consistent because my husband is so consistent. Like you said, Crystal, in his character, in his values, all of those things is what we should be paying attention to right off the bat. So to me, that is what would make a woman fall in love, is because these character traits that we're seeing, it's the proof is always in the pudding, but sometimes we like to make so many excuses for men and for situations. So it's like, pay attention, sis. Open your eyes, sis. Don't do that. You get what I'm saying? Because the things that are happening at the beginning of a relationship is the same thing you're complaining about 5 years into the relationship, 7 years, 10 years. So if it didn't work for you at the beginning, it's not going to work for you now. So yes, pay attention to if you feel those, like, dang, is it supposed to feel this way? How they say, when you do really know. There's no questioning. You get what I'm saying? So back to you, Miss Latoya, when you said it's us, it's our relationship, it's what we have going on, not with the world. And I feel like a lot of time as women, we got to call our homegirls like, well, he did this. Do that sound right? Is he this? Is he? It's like, sis, you always know within you, if this is something that fits right within your spirit. So I just wanted to say
And
that.
part of that too, I think a part of the struggle comes in not asking questions. It's again,
Exactly.
we're all emotion and no logic, because we don't want to know the answer. So I'm gonna
Yes.
go around. But when it's something for school or work or business, we're gonna Google that thing, we're gonna ask a million questions, we're gonna hire a coach, we're gonna take a class, we're gonna read 10 books, we're gonna listen to 5 podcasts, we're gonna find the answer. But when it comes to these men, it's like, no, I don't really want to know that. I don't want to ask that. I don't want to push. I don't want to accept the truth. And then we end up, with the results that we get. So that was literally a perfect segue into the next question, actually, Katana. So thank you. Because we always, or we often wonder what made the man, or what made a man want to marry a woman. But this question wants you all to answer, what was it about that man that made him different? So if you could just pinpoint one or two things that made him stand out, what was that for you?
So for me, it wasn't the man. I am very faith based. It was God. because
Mm.
I was 18. So God said to me, "That's your man." So it wasn't what he did for me, what I saw in him. It was God saying, "That is your partner." And I felt that with him. I think someone else talked about the feelings and how you feel when you're in a relationship. I felt comfortable. I felt secure. I felt protected. I felt loved like I had never been loved before.
Mm.
So I think it's all in, like, we have to find what we believe in and stay with it. I am big on God. I'm big on my faith. I'm big on my relationship. And I know what God says about that. So that's my answer.
I
Yeah.
love
I would
that.
agree with that, Latoya. And specifically with my husband, I was angry with God at the time that we met. But his spiritual grounding and just his unapologetic nature of the core of who I am a man of God. Like that's how I identify in everything that I do and how I operate and how I'm going to lead my family and how I'm putting these things in place for my wife. I don't know who she's going to be. It might be who I don't know, but these are the things that I'm very intentional about doing. And he showed me that he would call me every morning. So his intentionality, his values, and his just love and his heart just going out. And I was just like, are you crazy? But it started to show me the value. I can trust him, even though I've seen so many things that have told me to not trust into a man, not to put all my eggs in this basket. But this man is divine. And so, Lord, you have my attention. And it was the spirituality, the intentionality, and just his ability to make me feel so safe when nothing else in my environment was making me feel that way. So it really opened my eyes.
I love that.
I think a lot of times people look at what someone brings to the table instead of what who that person is at the table, right? You're looking at all the things that person is bringing to the table, and you got to look at who that person is. When I met my husband, between us meeting and us getting married, I lost 75 pounds. So it was a person that, yeah. So like it was a person that was able to grow with me, like him being able to love me where I was, encourage me, not discourage me. You getting too small, or why you not doing this, or no, we can't go on these type of dates. Like he was a single father, like he didn't fit into what my West African parents wanted, but this man was willing to love me when I was eating salads and not being able to go out to eat on dates because I wanted to improve my health, right? And now 10 years later, and I have a whole business doing that for other women, like he's still my biggest cheerleader. He's still like, oh, you go to the gym 4 days a week at 6 a.m. We got 3 whole kids. He still supports that. But if I would have been looking at just the items or a checklist instead of the character of somebody who's willing to cheer you on and to be a partner with you, I would have missed out completely. So yes, that's not to say settle, like my sis says, we're not settling, but we have to really focus on what the Lord is showing you about this person, and whether that person is going to make you better and cheer you on, or if they're going to be stifling you and pushing you down. And so that was what made me fall in love with Ant.
That's good.
I would say I was the problem. I was I was the problem. I went on um I talked to my husband for 2 weeks before he went on a date. And I wasn't taking a date seriously because again I was thinking, dates are just a waste of time. So he insisted on coming to my house. I wasn't used to that. I was used to meeting guys. I was used to being in control. He insisted on coming to pick me up. I was still asleep because I wasn't really seriously wanting to do the date. And so I say it was me, and I was very stubborn and not open. And he was just consistent. And for me, as a woman that was very career driven and very much seeing somebody that just was not mouthy, but just fit in those places and was everything that he said he was going to do, he did. And I had guys say, I'm going to marry you. I'm like, I done heard that before. Whatever, sir. But he said it once and he didn't say anything else. And anytime I would create or show a problem, he would quietly create a solution. And I had never had someone that, it wasn't a fight. He wasn't going to fight with me. He showed true leadership in a way that was like, this is upset. Let me provide a solution for that. He just started showing up as a husband. And when I tell you, I would talk to my girlfriends like, I've never seen anyone this consistent. And to this day, 4 years later, he is, that's just his character. I loved that. And I also loved his heart. He has 4 daughters and he was just a beautiful had a beautiful relationship with them, or was definitely talked about them, and the way he loved his daughters was something I admired. But most importantly was just he did not allow I had to rise to the level that he was at, because he just showed up as a man every time. This is what I said I'm going to do. You're busy. You can't. You have to be at your house to record. I'll build a studio at my house. Now what?
What you got there?
Well, okay then.
It ain't a
What
problem.
time should I be there?
Yeah.
Problems. I
Problem
love
solved.
Yeah, but it made my life easier. And a pastor said to me one time, I was in a sermon, and the pastor said, "How many things do you do for your husband? If you have a list of things you do for him and he doesn't do anything for you, then you are the husband and you have a wife." And I always thought, well, I don't want a wife. And I know in past relationships I had been the husband, because I'm a person that's going to show up. And so in this situation, I was definitely not the husband, and I felt for the first time I could relax, so, more and more and more and more, and that trust built. But it was because he was consistent. It's not about the money spent. It's really just about him showing up and showing me what a man was and what a man could contribute to my life that was not financial. It was just that his presence.
Mm-hmm.
real masculinity will do that to you, baby. Katana, what about you?
Yeah, so like I stated, it was just consistency. It was his character. It was that feeling of peace, that feeling of surrender, like in our seasons of singleness, like going back to that masculinity energy that we're now leading with, which as women and men, we both have both energies, masculine and feminine, but we can be out of balance because we're doing life by ourselves, So with my husband, like it just was on the spiritual side of things, it was just like a sense of peace I've never felt with anybody before, and a man that is about his word, a man that he brought me around his family and his friends, and you can just see how they respected him, just like right off the back. So when you're watching how other people react to their energy, and just that gives you the proof of their character as well. So I had the evidence, to back it up. Like, because we can say whatever. A man can tell you, he can spit game, he can, make you feel real good, but it's like, where's that evidence? And it's like, if the evidence not aligning, sis, something wrong. But if it is, can you let your guard down? Can you be loved? And that was always my prayer to God as well. Like, God, let the walls of my heart down. I've been hurt in the past. I've seen my parents get divorced. I've seen my grandma leave her marriage at 72 years old. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, I want to believe the evidence that you're showing me. And my husband was that guy for me. He just lived in his truth, and it helped me to live in mine as well.
So consistency, a character, a man of character, those foundational things, I feel like we can make the laundry list. You can write the letter to God all day, but those foundational things, you're just going to feel it. And the way that I can guarantee you, like the way that hands down 100% without a doubt, you're going to feel it, is because every single time that man was not right, you felt it. You might not have acted on that feeling, but that spark was there. Okay. I always say our gut instinct is our God instinct. That is God saying, sis, no, this ain't the right. We always feel it. We might not want to see it, but we always feel it. And so that same feeling, whether you are, religious, spiritual, whatever you subscribe to. And one thing I wanted to say also, because majority of the ladies mentioned, equally yoked, their relationship with God, spirituality. I was a little bit of a hoodlum when I met my husband. I was a little in between in I got my relationship with God, but religion, I did not subscribe, and I still don't subscribe to religion.
Correct.
For anyone out there who's like, okay, well, that ain't it for me, let me just say that it was not necessarily, I felt, well, he showed up and said, God told me, you were the one for me, or I saw him, in church in this really great spiritual relationship. It was not that for me. One of the things, though, that stood out, there were several things. The consistency, always there from the beginning, and being consistent in whoever you say you are, not being inconsistent with me trying to make you be, but you just being whoever you say you're going to be. Just do that. And he did that very well, and still to this day does that. But one of the things that separated him for me, and I felt like he is serious, before we made the real commitment, because we was playing around, for a few months before we decided to go together. But
Mhm.
we had discussed that when we decide we are committed and we go together, we're on the journey to getting engaged and to being married. Like we had already talked about that. We were no longer in the season of playing games. So we
Mhm.
said, okay, we're going to wait 6 months. I'm going to give you 6 months to play around in these streets, is basically what I told him. And in 6 months, we're going to do this thing. But one of the things that he did in that 6 months is he went to therapy, y'all. And he came back and told me, I want to make sure that I am healed, I am healthy, I am ready to be your husband. Like and that was just, so that might look like I prayed, whatever that looks like, but a man that's serious about you, you're
Mhm.
going to know it based on the action that he's taking outside of you. Not just what he's doing with you, but he should be doing something for you outside of
Mhm.
you. And so
Mhm.
I think
Yep.
that that's something you can definitely be looking to or looking for as well. Okay, last question, y'all. And it was a question that was here in the chat, and it's one that's on my list over here too. We definitely gonna have to do like a part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because so, but this one I think is so important because marriage grows you up. Like this is grown woman TV, right? Marriage requires you to be a grown ass, a whole grown woman out here,
Mhm.
okay? Mature, emotionally evolve, just all of the things. And so, last question: what is the biggest lesson that marriage has taught you? Slash, so you can answer that. What's the biggest lesson that marriage has taught you? Or in what way have you had to grow up the most? So for the single women who are watching this, like was it your attitude? Was it you had to learn how to be vulnerable? Was it that you had to learn how to not be in control? Like what was that thing that if she could just start working on that right now, if you could just get a head start with this thing, then you could be, a step ahead in creating a healthy, happy marriage. Anybody can take it. And then after you answer, share your contact info, please.
So I'd have to
Well,
say, for me, one of the things, well, the biggest thing I have learned in my marriage is to listen. And that is to listen, comprehend, listen with my guards down, because I'm always ready to fight. But I have to put them guards down and really, really listen. And that, oh, there go my contact. That not only works for my marriage, but it works for every relationship that I have.
Mhm.
And so once I learned to listen with an open heart and put those arms down, I became the best wife or the best friend or whatever. So I definitely would say listening has changed the game for me.
That's a good one.
For me, I would say that this might seem taboo, but self development is the start, right? I think that a lot of times we look at the other person, or you look at the situation, or how can things change, or you see it, especially if you're alpha female, or if you've been a problem solver in your life, or you're the oldest child, you want to fix stuff. And sometimes you have to just. What I've learned is that whenever I see an issue in my home, or see an issue with my spouse, like, pressure, just look at yourself. Have a come to Jesus meeting and say, Lord, what is it about me? How am I approaching this? Like, where am I? Like, give me wisdom. Like, give me wisdom so that I can heal in certain ways, or I can approach these differently. And then if there is a legitimate problem that we need, it's an interpersonal problem, when I approach it, it won't be in a judgmental way. It won't be in a bashing way. It will be in the way where I've already considered and already sought wisdom on how I can develop. And that goes to everything. Like, even with, if I have an issue with the way my family is eating, how am I eating? If I have an issue with my way my husband or my spouse is working out, or their body, and they let themselves go, have you let yourself go? Like, ask yourself first, what are you doing to develop yourself and lift yourself? Because once, I mean, my husband's the head of our household, but there's something about the influence of femininity that, like, when you start getting yourself together, it will shift the entire environment. And so that's one of the biggest way I've had to grow up. Stop like trying to be a problem solver and calling it that. And no, like, introspection is always going to win. And I'm Precious K. Williams on our platform. So.
I love that. I would say in our case, we were long distance when we started dating. And so one of the biggest things, and we were long distance for 2.5 years. So during that process, obviously there's no in the room context. So we had to learn very quickly, for me especially, communication. And that was reiterated when we went to premarital counseling. Like, one of the top 3 reasons for divorce, or the number one, is your communication. And thinking that you're saying how you feel or you're creating an expectation, I'm thinking that my attitude and me being quiet is showing that, but me being able to verbalize and be vulnerable to say, hey, you did this thing and I really didn't like it. And I don't want to be rejected by you because I'm expressing how I feel. It's just a matter of, it's going to bother me and it's going to make me put up a wall. And I don't want that. And so learning how to have that level of vulnerability and communicating how I feel in the moment and not allowing it to linger was one of the biggest things, and something that continues to evolve even now. Like, how do we communicate differently at this level? And just when you think you're communicating something, asking yourself that question, kind of to what Precious was just saying, but like, am I really saying it? Am I upset with him for a thing, but did I communicate effectively? Was I clear as much as I thought that I was? Or was I having a whole conversation in my mind and I thought that I ran it all the way down, but that was not the case? And so going through different seasons in life, and right now we're on a fertility journey. And so again, learning how to communicate and ask for help, learning how to say, you know what, no, I don't have it today, but can you help me do this thing and we'll try again tomorrow. So the communication and the vulnerability is key, because they're not mind readers and neither are we, you know. So being able to do that and just be like, I'm gonna just say what needs to be said respectfully and with love, of course, you know.
Yes. Sorry. I love that. I love that, Ashley. And I can relate as far as the communication and learning how to, handle our feelings in a healthy way and being able to communicate. And like, oftentimes our partner is going to be a literal reflection of us sometimes too, right? So the things that we might despise in them or we don't like, is because it's a reflection of what's in the inside of us, or the areas that we need to work on as well. And dang, I just lost my train of thought. What else was I saying? Come back to me. I'm sorry, y'all.
How has marriage had to grow you up? Like, what has been a challenge? I'll hop in. I'll do mine. And mine is literally going to be exactly what you just said, Ashley. A hit dog is about to holler, and I'm hollering, okay, because I don't even. My challenge, okay, this is a safe space, y'all. Okay, being passive aggressive / avoiding conflict, thinking that you're doing yourself or your relationship a service by avoiding conflict, or being passive aggressive, or just trying to sweep it under the rug, or just trying to hold your tongue, that will literally like cause you harm, like for your health, your physical health, your mental health. That is a challenge that I'm definitely working through. The vulnerability to be able to vocalize, to know that you are in a safe space, to know that you have chosen a partner that you can trust, so that this truly is a safe space so I can effectively communicate my feelings. Because if you have ever had issues, which most of us have, where your feelings have been shut down, or you have not had a safe space to open up, or you've built up those walls, when you do have this safe space to land, that is your husband, you won't even recognize it. You won't even leverage it. You won't even use it. You won't even have the benefit of it because you're not mature enough or ready yet to be able to become who you are called to be as a wife. Because what you can get away with, what you can sweep under the rug as a single woman, it will literally eat you alive as a wife. Because this, you got to eat, sleep, breathe this man. So you can't forget about it. You can't forget about it and go on back to your house and talk about it next week. Like, it ain't that. So that's been one of my like growing pains. What you got, Katana? 8
All
months,
right.
girl. 8 months.
Yeah, I ain't have to grow up yet. We just got married.
Right. So we've been together for almost 5, right? So, but the point I forgot that I wanted to make is that understanding that we are on the same team. So in past relationships, you may feel like you're on different teams, like I'm over here, you over here. It's like, no, even when we're mad, we're on the same team. And I even had to remind him of that, when we had conflict. It's like, you can be mad at me, but we're still on the same team. and we have to learn how to deal with conflict in a healthy way, because that
Mhm.
is one of the number one reasons why relationships fail, because we can't communicate our feelings, like you're my person, I'm your person, and we have to provide that safe space for each other to be vulnerable. So yes,
I,
yes, yes, yes. And I am
That's good.
Katana K, and I'm so happy to be a part of the conversation.
thank you for being here, Katana. Crystal,
Yeah.
I just feel like you are the perfect person to close this out because you can take from what you learned in your first marriage, what you're learning in this marriage. How have
Mhm.
you had to grow up? How has marriage forced you to become a grown ass woman?
Well, that's so true. I'm fine. I tell people, don't be. I'm the voice of Christmas. Christmas future. You don't want to go through a divorce. Divorce is one of the most painful things anyone will experience. And I don't want that for any of the women I talk to. I don't want that for anybody. It's a painful thing. What I would say is we have to unlearn what a lot of us have been taught. You know, a lot of us are defensive out of fear, right? We don't want to be hurt, so you hold yourself, you guard your feelings, and you do see that other person as someone you have to protect yourself against, because a lot of us have been taught not to let that man get you. Don't make sure you put some money away, make sure you do these
Mhm.
things, make sure you protect yourself. And I think that we have to, specifically as women of color, unlearn what we've been taught, because our a lot of our mothers and grandmothers went through toxic situations that were a result of what happened to us a long time ago, which we all understand the history of African American people. And now a lot of things where men were pit against women. Women had to be the strong one. You have to unlearn all that trauma. And I think the things that have served you well outside as a single woman will work against you as a married woman. And I think for me, the things that served me well in the business world, when I would put on that hat of being enchanted PR, that was the worst thing for my marriage, because I was not vulnerable. I was not allowing someone to see me. I was not allowing myself to feel, because we've been taught, suck it up, be strong. Again, you have to unlearn those things. So I guess the simple way would be, if you want a soft life, then you have to learn soft skills. And that
Mhm.
starts with tearing down a lot of the things that we have been taught out of our mothers and grandmothers loved us and were trying to protect us. But as a girl, you got to grow up and you got to let those crutches go. And you got to learn how to create the marriage and family that you want to create, to kind of break some of those generational curses. So I would say, for all of the accomplished, amazing, all the black girl magic that's out there, my sister, it's time for you to grow. It's time for you to stretch. You're going to have to break down some of that and relearn how to be soft, how to be nurturing, how to be loving, how to love on yourself outside of all those other things, because that's the only way that you will truly be ready to be a wife.
One last time. Look, StreamYard is hating on you, Crystal. It will not let me pull yours up. We can see it right here, the real Crystal Jordan. But tell everyone where they can find your book, please.
So this is my book, and they see there's an alpha female on the cover. She has on her power red. The book is available at Barnes and Noble, on Amazon, or you can go to my Instagram, and the link is there as well. But it's Dear Alpha Female. It's not him, it's you. An interactive devotional designed to help you attract the love you deserve. I call this a love letter to my sisters wrapped in accountability, because I got to be honest with you. But love is there if you want it. It really is.
Mhm.
I love it. Y'all, please come back. When I slide in your inbox with another invitation, Crystal, when I slide in your DMs with another invitation, please, y'all see the comments. Like, I knew that this was,
Mhm.
it gotta be dropping stuff in my spirit. I don't ask no questions, I just go with it. And thankfully, y'all didn't ask no questions, y'all just went with it. I know that like lives were changed, seriously, for people to get wisdom from wives that they usually don't get, to hear 6 different perspectives. I feel like we were able to provide some hope, during a season where it's hopeless out here for single women. It's hard out here over these next few weeks. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank y'all so much for spending this hour with us. Thank you for taking time away from your families, I'm sure, to
You.
be here investing and encouraging in other Black women. I love you. I appreciate you. And I thank you, thank you, thank you for being part of the first, but not the last, Single Wives Live.
I love it.
Yay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
All
Coriel, for
right, y'all.
coordinating.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Okay, let me see how I can swap this out real quick, y'all, because I see my girl Allison is backstage. Bye, precious girl. Bye. Oh, oh, there you go. Okay. All right. So without further ado, I am going to bring up my girl Allison. I feel like StreamYard is hating just a little bit. Allison, are you there? Am I frozen? What is happening?
No, everything is good. You sound good. You look good. It's flowing. It's on time. Everything's all right.
Perfect. Okay. I thought it was hating on me for just a second. But y'all, was that thebomb.com or what? I already know that it was. I'm not even going to wait for y'all to tell me in the comments because I was here and I know. Okay. If you are inspired by the stories that you just heard of happy wives that are in healthy marriages, consistently continuing to create healthy marriages, because it is a journey. Okay. It's not a destination, but we are en route to these healthy marriages. You are inspired already, but now it's time to get the information so that you can take actionable steps towards creating the life and the love that you desire. If you are truly ready for this to be your last single season, then you are definitely in the right place, because my girl Allison Wellington, who happens to be the host of the Single Season podcast, is here to help you figure out how this can be your last single season. So Allison, I'm going to let you take it away. I'll be back to moderate some Q&A if we have time at the end, which I hope we will. But without further ado, this is Allison Wellington at Align with Allison on Instagram and on YouTube.
Yes, ma'am. And on YouTube. So good evening, everyone. I hope all is well. I hope all is well. My name is Allison. I'm a certified dating and relationship coach. I have a bachelor's degree in education, a master's degree in counseling, a master's degree extension in mental health counseling, and I'm a certified coach. And I work with busy professional women to move them from being discouraged with dating into healthy and happy marriages, the stuff that we were talking about in that first hour. But let me tell you that work is not easy. It's not easy for me as the coach, and it's not easy for my clients, but with guided support and specific next steps, that is what I do with the people that I work for. So I'm going to try to squeeze what I teach in 8 weeks through my coaching program, The Partner You Deserve, or through my course, Snatch a Spouse. I'm going to squeeze what I teach in 8 weeks into like the next 40 minutes, because I do want to make sure that we leave time for Q&A, that you guys have some very specific next steps for you and your circumstance. And I can give you that so that you're walking away not only with the guidance I'm about to offer, but something for you that is specifically made and answered for you. So there are phases in which you have to follow. There are steps that you have to follow in order to move from where most people are on the dating scene during their single season. Most people are in a discouraged or frustrated state. That's where we are, through getting into a happy, fulfilling marriage. So there are a couple of steps. So the first step that I teach my clients is, number one, I need you to be very clear on exactly what you're looking for in a partner. I need you to be extremely clear, crystal clear, what you're looking for in a partner. Why? In order for you to have an enjoyable dating experience, you need to vet and you need to eliminate inappropriate matches immediately. Immediately. What makes dating uncomfortable, what makes dating for the most part kind of just not a fun experience for folks to have, is that they're going on dates with the wrong people. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going on dates with the guy who's going to be your husband as the first guy out the gate, but at minimum, you should be having enjoyable experiences. Dating is data. Dating is going out to events, to spaces with someone that you are potentially romantically interested in to see if they're a good match for you. So how could this not be fun if we're going to the show? How could this not be fun if we're doing mini golf? How could this not be fun if we're trying out a new restaurant? So the activity itself is fun. And now we need to see if the person that we're spending that activity with is at least a nice human being. Now, again, the vetting process, the dating process will help us to assess if they're a good fit for who we are as a person. But you should not be going out on dates with people who are not qualified. Personality, interests, goals might vary, but this person should be a nice human being that you would have been friends with had you met in a romantic situation and could potentially be friends with in the future. Isn't going out with your friends enjoyable? So at minimum, this should be an enjoyable experience. How do you make it an enjoyable experience? Is by vetting and getting rid of and removing inappropriate matches in the first place. So how do you do that? You have to get clear on exactly what you're looking for in the partner and a partnership. Partner and partnership. Let's talk about it. So partner, what are the qualities? What are the behaviors and traits that you must have in your man for him to be your man? What are the musts? Emphasis on must. Girl, I don't fluff. I'm not here to pander. I'm going to tell y'all that some of y'all musts are trash and shallow. And that's what has you keep dating the tall, dark, handsome with the beard and the perfectly straight white teeth who's a bum, or has so many other prospects that they can't keep it in their pants. I'm not saying that you should be dating people who are ugmug. I'm just saying that we need to open up our prospects because those things are short-lived, right? Your titties being up to here, short-lived, right? The face being lineless, right? I got the blur on right here on my StreamYard. It's short-lived. So we have to think about what's going to give us the longevity. He's a handsome man. Good. Does he need to be 6 feet? Does his beard have to connect? Can he just do the line? Does he look good with that? Right? Like, we need to be more reasonable because clearly, and I mean this with all due respect, if you're new to me, you might be thinking, damn, this girl is rough. This is me. I love y'all. I'm a Libra, y'all. This is me and I love y'all. So that's why I'm speaking frank. Many times we're looking for the most desirable man in our culture. And please note that so is everybody else. I'm not saying date bums. Actually, I'm saying the exact opposite. I'm just saying we need to be more reasonable about what our non-negotiables are. Again, those behaviors and traits that are an absolute must. Not a little extra, not the icing on the cake, but the cake. All right. So what does that look like? Behaviors and traits. I'll give you some of mine. Don't use mine if you don't want to. This is in alignment with who I am and what I value, right? So I'm a West Indian woman. One of the things I value is work. So one of my non-negotiables is that my man must be hardworking. What does that mean? I don't care if he comes in the relationship with money. He needs to be learning how to flip that money. I don't care if he was gifted properties and never has to work a day in his life. I value work. I need a hardworking man. I need a man who believes in Christ. I need a man who is affectionate. You see where we're going, the direction we're going in? These are the behaviors and traits that aren't going to shift with time. He going to lose his hair with time. Teeth might start falling out in time. These are the things that are core to who he is as a man and as a person. Those are my non-negotiables, the behaviors and traits that your partner must have or your potential partner must have in order for him to be your man. Okay. Now I'll tell you this. I tell my clients they're up to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? So we're not here with a list of 20, 30, 50 things because, again, I say this lovingly, you ain't got 40, 50, 60, 70 things that everybody wants. So we have to be reasonable. We're not settling. We're being reasonable. Okay, good. So we have those non-negotiables written down and clear. That's before we go on anybody's app. That's before we go physically outside to anybody's party. You have your non-negotiables clear. Good. Now we have our relationship goals. The relationship goals mean the things, the product of your relationship. What fruit do you want it to bear? I'm telling you this. Every single time I do a consultation before someone joins my live coaching program, I ask them, what are they looking for? I ask them what they're looking for in a man. They tell me, and we're going to work on that, right? That's what the program is for. And then I ask them what their relationship goals are. And then they continue the list of what they want in the man. A relationship, the two of you together are coming together to create what? What is the fruit that you're going to bear? I'm going to give you an example. Mine's a little silly, but you'll get the idea once I give you mine. So one of my relationship goals, me and my husband are coming together to create what fruit is that, well, I guess it's not silly. One of my relationship goals is that my husband and I are going to foot the bill to any HBCU that our kid wants to attend. Undergrad, grad school, they got to take care of themselves. Why? I didn't go to an HBCU. I want my kid. They got 108. They got to choose one, right? The root of it is that I don't want my kid to take on additional student loans unless they have to. What does that mean? That means that he and I need to have a financial plan. We may have to invest. We might have to become entrepreneurs because our good city jobs might not be enough. So that is what the two of us are going to come together to create. Some people talk about their relationship goals being a safe space where both partners can be their authentic self. You have to decide what your relationship goals are. I tell my clients to come up with 2. 2 relationship goals, 6 non-negotiables. Why is this so key? Before you're on anybody's app, before you go outside, because before you go on that app or before you go outside, I need you to be clear on what you're looking for. That's like going to the supermarket with no shopping list. What happens when you go to the supermarket with no shopping list? You go meander up and down the aisles. You picking up a whole bunch of stuff. You check out. You go home. You say, oh, man, I forgot the bread. Oh, man, I forgot the cheese. Oh, man, I forgot the eggs. You got some of the stuff you need. You got some potatoes, right? But then you also got the stuff you don't need, like marshmallows. Now, what's going to happen when you go back to the supermarket the second time? So the first time was when you started dating without a list. The second time, you're going to do a little bit better. You're going to say, nah, this time I'm not going to forget the eggs and bread. You'll do a little bit better. Your next man will be a slightly closer version, but you're still going to be lacking because you don't have the structure. You don't have the organization. You don't have the list. You're not actively checking it off. You're not looking at the list and then looking at the aisle and then looking at the list and then asking a staff member, I can't find this. Where is it? Right? We have to be strategic. This thing that we have is from Disney, that love is going to fall into our lap and everything is just going to be magical and wonderful, is a dream. It is not reality. Anything that is worth anything, you have to work for. What in your life has just fallen into your lap? Hardly nothing. The degrees you worked for, right? The fitness you worked for, the business acumen you worked for. So this is the same idea: structure, organization, specifics, next steps. So good. We have the goals. We have the non-negotiables. Now, when you do go on the dating scene, online or in person, you know what you require. So your next step is going to be for you to generate questions and a list of behaviors that will help you to assess whether or not that gentleman has those things. Right? Those who are my coaching program, I give them all the questions. Those are my coaching program, I give them all the behaviors, right? But again, we're pressed for time, so I'm trying to give you all the good stuff. I'm trying to give you all the gems. You're going to take those goals and take those non-negotiables and then break them down into questions you should be asking, behaviors you should be paying attention to. Good, good. Let me give you an example. If one of your non-negotiables is that you're with a Christian man, right? A man who has a relationship with God. Plenty of folks say they're Christian or whatever. A man who has a relationship with God. So now you need to generate questions to assess whether or not this gentleman has a relationship with God. What would that look like? I'm going to give you a good little tidbit. Don't start with, do you believe in God? Why? Because that already leads the person to the answer they think that you want to hear. If anybody watches a lot of law shows like Law and Order, it's called Leading the Witness. That's the same idea. Even if you don't like this language, for the sake of argument, we're going to go with something like, do you believe in a higher power? Why? Because it now opens up. So if someone hears that language and they don't believe in God in the way that you would like to hear it or would have envisioned it, they're going to be more inclined to answer you honestly, because there's no sense of judgment or direction in the way that you ask that question. So let's say the gentleman says, oh, yes, I'm a Christian. I believe in God, blah, blah, blah. Good. Okay, so now we're assessing whether or not this man has a relationship with God. From there, we're going to go into, oh, okay, that's amazing. So do I. Like, what are some of your favorite scriptures? Or do you read the word? Or how frequently do you get a chance to? When do you get a chance to? When's the last time you had a chance to go to church? When you put the phrase chance, it lessens the pressure. People are more inclined to answer. It sounds like it's not a big deal if you didn't do it. When's the last time you got a chance to go to the gym? Sounds like, why? Doesn't sound like, why you're not going to the gym? What's wrong with you? Right? It lessens the pressure. People are more inclined to tell you the truth. Women complain that men don't tell them the truth. They do with their behavior, and we don't listen, or we're too aggressive in the way that we ask questions, which gives the answer away. And they like you. So they want to keep you around. All right. So you've asked, do you believe? Then you've asked, what are some of your favorite scriptures? If people are stuttering, that's already giving you an idea. When's the last time you had a chance to attend church? Last time I was there on Wednesday because I'm involved in such and such and so and so. Good. Now we can continue to vet the other things. My last note on this: you should only be vetting each behavior and each non-negotiable, each goal once per conversation. What does that look like? So that looks like, if God-fearing is one of my non-negotiables, and that's the conversation that we had today, everything else needs to be lighthearted. Everything else is talking about the Grammys. Everything else is talking about politics within reason. Everything else is talking about your job. Everything else is talking about family. Everything else is lighthearted. You do not want to overwhelm these people, because then they're going to notice that you are interviewing them. And then that also makes an undesirable dating situation. Us women, we complain about dating not being fun. Imagine men footing the bill for a job interview. I'm paying $250 to be interviewed for a job. That's not fun either. So we want to make sure that the experience is fun for them as well. Okay. So now we've gone through, you must have your non-negotiables. You must have your goals. You're going to come through with all of your questions, all of your behaviors, and you're tackling each and every one of them, one per conversation. If it opens up organically, if he brings up something that happens to match, okay. But you yourself are not turning this into an interview, because we all walk different. We talk different. Our posture changes and we smile when we're on an interview. We're not being our authentic Brooklyn Caribbean self, right? So you want to make sure that you're asking these questions this way so that it's off-putting. So it throws the person off, so they're more inclined to be honest. Make sense? Okay, good. So now that we've done that work, the next phase is going to be working on you. Working on you. And I heard one of the panelists talking about it's not them, it's you. It's a little bit them. And it's also us too. Because we have to be more reasonable. We have to apply reason and logic to dating, because we're not doing it. Why should this man who's on this pedestal date you if you are not on the same pedestal? I have had clients in the beginning, because I whip him into shape. That's what I do. I whip him into shape. Whip into shape. Will tell me, well, I'm not really that great of a communicator, so I'd like a guy who communicates so he can teach me. Nope. We ain't 25. That's out the window. We want our men ready-made. They want their wives ready-made. If they're taking a leap that society has been pushing as not an intelligent idea, and they are pushing against that narrative, then they want their wives fully baked too. So we have to be reasonable. You cannot be demanding things of people that you either don't have or can complement. I'm not saying exact, because we are men and women. We are supposed to complement each other. We're talking about heterosexual relationships, right? So not an exact match, but a complement. You want a man who's financially sound. You are $50,000 in credit card debt. Your budget is a mess. You overdraft every other week. How dare you? How dare you? I mean, and again, if you don't know me, I promise you this comes from a place of love. But if you are coming in, I'm seeing some folks in the comments, Tanya's in the building. Y'all know me. Y'all know that this is coming from a place of love. We have to be reasonable. We cannot be having we want a man who has a relationship with God. We ain't stepping to church since before COVID. Come on. He's going to want a woman who's going to push him too. So everybody going to want somebody who's going to push each other. We have to be reasonable. We're working on us. So we're going to make it easy, because time is of the essence. I want you to choose 2 things you want to work on. 2. One of them is about to be shallow. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance, but we can't see personality from across a room. So one thing that you're going to work on is going to be external. One thing. If it's your teeth that bother you, bleach them joints. I've had braces 3 times. Make it happen, Captain. If it's the skin, let's go to the dermatologist. You got that good job insurance for a reason. If you got to pay out of pocket, so what? Figure it out. Get care credit, whatever it takes, right? If it's your brows are too thin, man, find somebody who do those things. Fly to Turkey, get them edges in. I don't care what it is. If it's your physique, start dressing for your physique and then work on it as you work on it. Because what you're not going to do is wait on your weight. You're not waiting on your weight. So you're going to dress for the body you have now and then work on it. Whatever it is, one thing that's on the outside that you tend to hide. You laugh like this. Every picture you have, you take your purse, you cover in your belly. Work on something. Why? It's not even necessarily about the teeth. It's not necessarily about the skin. It's not necessarily about the big back you're trying to unbig. It's about your confidence. When you walk in a room and you in the corner, you hiding behind a book, you have your headphones in, you don't want to be bothered, you don't want to be approached, then guess what? It is extremely noticeable and it is off-putting. You know who is not off-putting to? The F-boys who want to take advantage of you because they're like, oh, gotcha. She has low confidence. She doesn't feel good about herself. I could take advantage of her. I could walk all over her. She's easy peasy chicken greasy. She gonna let me move in. She gonna put my new car is gonna be in her name. She gonna rewrite my resume and apply for jobs. I've done that. I've applied for, man, I've written so many resumes and applied for jobs in college and all types of stuff for people. They ain't had no business doing it, right? So you have to come as your most confident self. So that's the shallow, but it's the truth. And then the second piece is going to be internal. What is a behavior or trait that you exhibit that's problematic? What is a behavior and trait that you exhibit that doesn't show up as the best version of you? That if you were married to you, you wouldn't like it either. Your finances in a mess, you wouldn't like it either. You're argumentative, that was my problem. You wouldn't like it either. Why would you want to pull up in front of your house to be walking into a husband that you know gonna be carrying on and making a scene and being ridiculous? Ain't nobody want that. So what happens? He pulls up in front of the house and he waits 10 minutes as he scrolls on his phone. He pulls up in front of the house and he waits 30 minutes as he scrolls on his phone. Then he gonna stop at the local pub and get a drink before he comes on so he could wait it out to hear less of your mouth. And then at that pub, he meets a woman. Hello? Come on. Right? So step 2 is becoming the best version of you. All right, let me do a time check. All right, good. Best version of you. After you are working on those behaviors, or while you're working on those behaviors, because I know y'all make excuses. Oh, 2 years is going to take for me to straighten my teeth. So you ain't got 2 years. You ain't got 2 years. 2 more years of loneliness. 2 more years, and I said it on my live earlier today, people were laughing. 2 more years of digging out your own car when it snows. No, no, no. That was a straw that broke the camel's back for me. I said no more winters of me digging out this car. For some people, it's the pajama pics. Not one more Christmas where I don't have the matching pajama pics with my boo. For some people, it's New Year's. Not one more New Year's where I don't have somebody to click clank the champagne glasses and have a kiss at midnight. For some people, it's Valentine's Day. But you have to decide not one more year of this. And find the person who you think is a good fit, and you better work with them. Anywho, we press for time. So we did non-negotiables. We did goals. We did working on you. Now that we have those things clear, now we're getting on our dating apps. Now we're going out in person. I know some of y'all don't like dating apps. Okay. I'm not going to fight you. I'm going to explain something in you, and you're going to do whatever you want to do with this information I'm about to provide. Okay? Okay. Could you lose weight with just diet? Yes. Could you lose weight with just exercise? Yes. But if you want the fastest results, the most dramatic results in the shortest time frame possible, you're going to diet and exercise. Could you just go out socially? Sure. Could you just go on dating apps? Sure. But if you want to meet the most amount of people in the shortest period of time to get to your goal, which for my clients, busy professional women, is to move from discouraged with dating or avoiding dating altogether, immersing themselves in work in the church. And now you look up 15 years done passed and you still digging out your own car, or not taking those PJ pics, or lonely on Valentine's Day, or whatever that might look like. I'm off track. And this is why I shouldn't be off track. So you could do both. You have to decide what's best for you. If you decide that you only want to go outside, all right, now you got to double down on that. Yeah. Oh, Allison, I don't like dating apps. You going outside? No. Come on, man. You're not being real. That's like saying, Allison, I'm not happy with my weight, but I'm not willing to diet or exercise. You're not for real. It's not going to happen any other way. Your husband is not going to be delivered to your door. I'm sure if we did a study on how many people met their spouse at their front door, it is like 0.00001%. The person who happened to marry the plumber, the electrician, the Uber Eats guy, or Amazon. It's not happening, Captain. You got to do something different to get a different result. So you're going out socially, and is what I recommend, you're also on dating apps, okay? I don't want to spend too much time on dating apps because that can be an entire masterclass on its own, but I'm sure that Coriel is going to send out the links to all of you guys, and I have free resources and low-cost resources all around dating apps, which ones to choose and how to win to create a winning dating profile. We're pressed for time, so you need to be on them. You can check out my Instagram, click the link in my bio, all that kind of good stuff. I don't want to waste time on a commercial break to find out that stuff. So you're on the dating app and you're out socially. I do want to spend a little bit of time on the out socially part, because I said I got tons of resources on dating apps that's relatively new, but the out socially part we may be missing. Okay. So one thing that I need for you guys to understand is, again, even if you go outside and you're reading a book in the corner in the dark that is not helpful to you, you still have to socialize. What does this socialization look like? So number one, I need you again to feel as confident as humanly possible. Wear your hair the best way that your hair looks. Wear the makeup in the nicest way that you do your own makeup, and practice over time. Watch some YouTube channels. I took a class, a one-on-one class, because I ain't got time for no YouTube channels. No shade to YouTube, right? Time is of the essence, and I need to learn this skill. I'm hiring a person who's going to teach me so I can keep it moving, right? A little bit of makeup and then build on it over time. Don't rush it, right? Dressing for your physique, learning what your body type is, and then dressing accordingly. If you need to hire a stylist to put some outfits together, make it happen, and make sure you're wearing comfortable shoes, depending on the environment. I'm not telling you to wear sneakers everywhere, even though I'm a sneaker girl. Sometimes you got to wear your heels within reason, right? You do want to come across as your most confident, but also feminine self. Cool. We are in these spaces. This is what I'm going to challenge you to do. When you go out socially, I want you to have 3 conversations outside of whoever comes with you. And we're going to get into who you take with you on these events in a moment. 3 conversations. Who are these conversations? Number 1, I want you to speak to a staff member. Somebody who's in the venue, who's in the space, the bartender, the coat check girl, the bathroom attendant. Talk to somebody, the waiter, the waitress. Talk to somebody in the venue. Why? If this is a popping, well-known venue in your city, you want to get the inside track. You want the bartender to say, girl, I mean, I know you're probably having some fun right now, but really Thursday nights is where the doctors come from the hospital across the street. And every Thursday is when they get down. You need to come back. You want the inside track at the hottest places in your city. So you are going to befriend and have a conversation with a staff member. The bartender is probably your best bet. Okay. Y'all going to become friends. That's the first conversation I want you to have, besides whoever you come with. We're going to get into that in a moment. Number 2, I need you to have a conversation with a woman in the space. You choose who that woman is. I would probably choose the woman who has on the brightest outfit. I'm going to choose the woman who has the long, luscious locks. I'm going to choose the woman who has on a beautiful brooch. I'm going to choose the woman who has the funky earrings. I'm going to choose the woman that maybe has like my union's bag, right? I was a member of the UFT, United Federation of Teachers. So the union bag or the sorority bag, right? A soror or a Sands or whoever, right? A woman who you found her. She grabbed your attention some way, somehow about something special. You're going to use that thing and engage in conversation with her. You're going to walk across the room. Girl, I love your such and such. Where did you get it from? You styled it. You killed it. Oh, thank you so much. Smile, laugh, ha ha, he, kiki, go back to your station. Wherever you were set up, wherever your table is, you go back. Engage in conversation. Why? When I see you walking, speaking to the bartender, ha ha, he, kiki, attention is on you. Lights are on you. You're bubbly. I'm noticing you. You walked across the room to somebody else, a woman, a stranger you don't even know, complimenting her, showing your own confidence in yourself with your ability to compliment somebody else. I'm bubbly. I'm smiling. I'm warm. I'm welcoming. Ha ha, he, kiki, back to my station. This is the third person. Y'all ain't gonna like this. I need you to speak to a man in the space. Suck it up, Chuck. Men, since they were boys, have been talking to girls and women their whole life and get rejecting their whole life, and they are fine. They did not die. You will not die. Go and speak to a gentleman in the space. What am I going to talk about, Allison? This is what you're going to talk about. You are going to find something in common, just like the woman who had on the bright outfit or the letters or the union bag. You're going to find something on that gentleman, or you're going to use the environment to engage in conversation. James, hi, I'm Allison. It's a pleasure to meet you. I heard you speaking about gentrification in Brooklyn, and it was so moving because I never really thought about how such and such and so and so and so and so. What are your thoughts on this? If it's a speaking event, if it is a live podcast show, if I don't care what it is, you're going to find something in the environment or something the gentleman has on to engage in conversation. Now, that's all I want you to do. I didn't say ask him on a date. I didn't say anything of the sort. All I said was engage in conversation. So now that answers Tanya's question. How do I know if he's not taken? You're not flirting with him. He's a speaker at the event. He's an attendee of the event. He has on his little tag that says James. You have on your tag that says Tanya. So you can have a conversation with a man. And if his wife has a problem with it, then their problems are beyond you. You didn't touch him. You didn't say, let me get your number. You are in, all I want you to do is engage in conversation. That's all I ask. Why? Again, you want to be noticed. You want to come across as bubbly. You want to come across as welcoming. You see a gentleman, you engage in conversation. If he's interested in you, he'll take it to the next level. You have done your due diligence. Okay, that's working the space. Now, let's talk about who you are going out with. This is a big mistake that my dating ladies have when it comes to who they go out with. All of your friends cannot come. I am not a mean girl. I'm actually a girl's girl. But when I say that, this is a very specific type of event that you're attending with a very specific goal. You are trying to engage. You are trying to open up your general network. And if a handsome gentleman who seems interesting asks for your number, you'll give it, right? That's not for everybody. You're going out with one friend. One. When it's 2, 3, 4, 5, it is a girls' night. And that means that the guys can't come. And that means guys ain't coming over. And they shouldn't. Why? Because you're creating a potentially hostile environment for this gentleman. Why do I say that? If he wants to talk to you, Danielle, you specifically he wants to talk to, and there are 4 other women in this circle, now he's buying 5 drinks to talk to you. You said that you wanted a man who was financially sound. You said you wanted a man who made smart financial decisions. Me and you, Danielle, are just as pretty. You with a group of 4, that's 5 drinks times $20. It's just me and my one friend on the other side, me and Co on the other side of the bar. That's $40, 2020 versus 100. What makes the most sense? We both cute. We're both funny. We're both smart. Whatever. We're both bubbly. We both spoke at the event and exuded this confidence. Logic says, I'm going to take the path of least resistance. Number 2, potential rejection. Y'all talk about y'all being afraid. Imagine being rejected in front of 5 people. And then them 5 people in that rejection can be loud or obnoxious. You're going out with one friend, ideally by yourself, but I watch a lot of Law & Order SVU, so I get it. One friend, one or none, okay? Number 2, choosing said friend. She cannot be loud, no obnoxious, because birds of a feather flock together. She's arguing with the bartender. She's carrying on with the security agent. She's making a show, jumping on top of the bar, and this ain't the place. The girls' night that you have dedicated for that specific thing, let her carry on, let her do whatever, right? But for this, you need one friend who is reasonable, who's logical, who's not a drunk, who's not messy, and someone who's also not aloof. I need her to be able to read the room. If a gentleman walks over, he's seemingly more interested in me than her. She gives just enough distance so that we can see that, okay, James is talking to Allison. I'm watching the drink. I'm making sure nothing crazy is happening, but I'm giving them their appropriate space. Make sense? So yes, ideally alone, if you feel safe, your safety is paramount, right? If you feel safe, if you don't feel safe, you bring one friend. If you live in a city that's it's dark, you're not familiar with the neighborhood, I get it. Parking is questionable. Bring a friend. We're not bringing a crew. You bring in a crew, it's girls' night, and that's fine. But just know and don't be mad when no one approaches you because that's why. Make sense? Okay. Now our last note, and then I'm going to take Q&A after this, and then Cole, please come on in to facilitate that. My last note is going to be reciprocity. This is something that is not discussed enough in the dating scene. Post, what was the movement? Me Too movement. The guys are nervous pervs. They don't want to come across as too aggressive. Now, of course, the Me Too movement overall was good for the aggressive gentlemen, right? Shutting them down, arresting and imprisoning some, all that kind of good stuff. But the good guys don't want to be seen as rapey or problematic or anything of the sort. They're afraid to be associated with any kind of language. The idea of, I don't even know if I can say this on YouTube, I apologize, RAPE culture, right? Which is not actually the act, it's a culture. When we tell men something along the lines of, you made me feel uncomfortable, they can't quantify that. What they can quantify is touching a boob. What they can quantify is being overly sexual in their language when they're upfront about it, right? But making someone feel uncomfortable is not quantifiable. So they're afraid. So I'm telling you that they're falling back. So what does that mean? We need to reassure them. Now, I know that we don't like that because that sounds very soft. However, how are we saying as a society, as a group of women, we're saying we want our men to be more in touch with their emotions. We want them to be empathetic. We want them to be more emotionally sound. We want them to be more emotionally aware. All the language that we're using that says emotion. But then when I say out loud that we need to reassure them, oh my God, men these days, they're so sassy. Well, you said that you wanted a softer version, so here we go, right? And keep in mind, well, we ain't got time for that. We said we want a softer version, so here we go. They need to be reassured. What does that mean? Call them back when you can. Gone are the days of playing coy and not calling back for 3 days, holding on to the number. That's old school. You call back when you can. You are a busy woman. You're a professional woman. You are a mom. You call back when you can. You text back as soon as you can. As soon as you can. We're not playing games. We're not playing coy. We're not making up that we have activities or events if we are actually available to go out, just so we can seem like. If you're available, you're available. Sometimes you will be, sometimes you won't be, right? Sometimes you can send the first text. Not every time, not half the time, sometimes. Sometimes you can pick up the phone and call first. Not half the time, but sometimes. But you have to make it clear to the gentleman that you're actually interested in him. Gone are the days of guys pursuing, because some dudes took it too far and made it to the point of RAPE culture, right? And aggressive and abusive. So then now the good dude's like, I don't know about this. Let me just chill. And then now we're in a tough spot. All right. So I absolutely want to take your questions. And so Cole, please feel free to come back on and facilitate any questions that are, I know I answered some because it was just coming up on my screen and I got distracted. But yes, if there are any questions, I am here to guide you guys, to support you guys, and to do the work moving forward, because a 50-minute Zoom is not or YouTube live stream, StreamYard, whatever the heck this is not going to shift the trajectory of your love life. We just have to be reasonable here. So yes, Cole, I'm here for all the questions that folks have.
Listen, baby, I am, always excited to have that opportunity to hear from you, learn from you. I definitely know that you are the plug that the single ladies need, simply because you ain't playing with them. Okay. A lot of the tough love that I feel like we truly need, that comes from a loving place, is what I always see you deliver. So thank you so much for being here. No questions asked. I do have a couple questions. Actually, I have a lot of questions that were pre-submitted. So I'm going to comb through and pick out the ones that I think will be most helpful. I want to start with this one, though, because it's one that came up in the first hour, and that is around physical attraction. So how important is physical attraction? Can it grow? And I know you talked a little bit about this in terms of having some flexibility, but what is your, I guess, advice in terms of flexibility with your type?
Yes, that's an excellent question. So first of all, I need you to feel or think that the gentleman that you're seeing is handsome. He's a handsome guy. If you could say that. He's a handsome guy. Now, you wanting to rip your clothes off and jump on him and pounce on him can grow with time, but he's not going to become necessarily much more handsome than how he is. His face is his face. His face ain't going to change. His body is his body. For the most part, it may not change too drastically. I need you to be able to say, he's a handsome guy. If you can say he's a handsome guy, then go out with that guy. And if there are other things that take away from that handsomeness, like a cocky attitude that makes him appear ugly, then of course he's got to go. If there are things like corny, I want to talk about corny. Corny gets a bad rep. And I know y'all probably thinking that I'm about to defend corny, and I'm actually not. If he's corny, he can become less attractive to you. We do need to define what corny is very specifically, because some people are defining corny like the way that I do. God, gee, bow, like awkward, right? Like a Carlton almost, right? And some people are defining corny as dudes who don't got the gun on them, who ain't in these streets, who ain't ready to fight. Notice the lip, who ain't ready to fight any given moment. If that's the danger, and that's the uncertainty that you find exciting, kind of like a biker kind, you're the problem, right? But if this dude is socially inept, if this dude and as a result makes you feel uncomfortable, cringy, and unsafe, then I support that. But if he not rough and tough enough for me, then rough and tough is gonna lead you in a couple of directions. You're gonna be homeless. You're gonna be children fatherless, either due to prison or leaving or death. Right? Like, I know this is heavy stuff, but there's a lot of women who are dating these dangerous guys because it's exciting, and that excitement is going to leave you destitute. Okay? So saying all that to say, he's a handsome guy. Now, allow the personality to then pull you in some different directions. Either, wow, he has his ish together, so he's even sexier than I thought, or I can't do it, bro. Like, this dude is super corny and makes me feel unsafe because I don't know how he's going to react or function if we're in a tight position.
Thank you for clarifying. Define your corny. Somebody said that is a nugget, and it is, because as we grow up, as we evolve, our type should be growing up and evolving too. So if you are still out here in these grown woman streets, attracted to and running after what you were chasing behind in those high school streets, then yes, you are the common denominator. You got to check that for sure. Bad boys don't usually make good husbands, not in my experience, at least.
Mine neither.
Okay, so I'm assuming this person has seen the Single Season podcast, specifically the episode where you talk about dating being data, and you recommending dating multiple people. So the question is, if you are asked to be in a relationship, how do you disconnect from the potentials in a healthy way?
Oh, that's an excellent question. So let's give a little bit of backstory just in case folks don't understand or know. So one of the things I highly recommend, the most effective way for you to get through your single season in a timely fashion, is to be dating more than one person at a time. I did not say sleep with them. I did not say sleep with them. I did not say sleep with them. Okay. Dating, spending quality time within doing an activity, getting to know a gentleman to see if he's an appropriate match. And when he's not an appropriate match, either to his face, over the phone, or via text, you're going to say, hey, James, I really enjoyed the time that we spent together thus far. However, I don't think that we are looking for the same things. Our goals are out of alignment, something nice like that. But I wish you the best. Press send. If you're scared, you could block thereafter, but you're going to tell the person you're not interested. Cool. So now you have these 2 or 3 guys you're seeing, and there's one who is applying the pressure, and you feel like he is the one for you. You want to move forward with him. You got the one of the two who's on the back end. Similar message. Hey, James, it's been a pleasure to get to know you. During this process, I've been seeing other people, as you should have been as well. This is one way. And I've decided that I'm going to move forward with another gentleman. You are a great guy, and I wish the best for you moving forward. That's one thing, if you feel like it. Now, I would do that if you've already have had a conversation about seeing other people. Note on that. Do not volunteer that information. If someone blatantly asks you, are you seeing other people? Your answer is going to be, I've been talking to some other gentlemen to see who's the best fit for me. And I hope that you are seeing other ladies as well, because that's an important step in the process. So it ain't only me. You are free to do whatever the hell you want to do too. So if the person already knows, as you know, I was seeing reassure them you're a great guy. I know that your wife is waiting on you. I've decided to move forward another gentleman. I wish you the best. I keep saying breast. Maybe it's, I don't know, I'm got baby on my mind. Wish you the best. Press send. If you're afraid of the response, then you block. If the gentleman doesn't know, same text. Hey, James, I've been enjoying the time that we spent together. However, I really haven't felt the chemistry. I really haven't felt the connection. I don't think that we're looking for, whatever the reason is that you're choosing the other dude over James, say it nicely. Tell him he's a great guy. Wish him all the best. Press send.
You made it sound simple enough. Y'all literally just got a script, okay? Modify it a little bit. Press send. Okay, last 2 questions. I heard you shouldn't tell a man what you went through as a child or what you went through in your past relationships if it was bad. If that's the case, what should you tell them, or is it a time and place to let them know what happened? I have told men my past, and later they use it against me or become exactly what I went through in my past.
So let me tell you that they did not become exactly what you went through, because no one is drastically going to change their behavior because they met you. 37-year-old James is not going to become an abuser at 37 because you may have shared with him that you were abused by an ex. They're not going to become a bum because you told them. They didn't become that. That's exactly who they were from the beginning. And caveat, we don't have limited time, but you may have chosen him subconsciously because he was like that other guy. We ain't got time to get into that right now, right? But nonetheless, so my take is that you share that type of information with people that you see yourself having a long-term relationship with. I wouldn't share that with a colleague. I wouldn't share that with someone who I'm just making friends with either, right? So if you've been through something that's traumatic in your childhood or traumatic when it comes to exes, right? I just wouldn't share that with any old body anyway. So I would not be sharing that with a gentleman unless I see that we're going in the direction of being in a committed relationship. So if you put a gun to my head and force me to give a timeline, I say if we work 9 to 5s, we live in the same city, we should be conversing every day, text some days, call some days. We should be going out once a week. So in about 3 months, we should be committed relationshiping, right? I think that's a perfect time to be sharing more in-depth information. I would not be talking about anything that's too deep that early on. So 3 months and on, then you could start sharing. I wouldn't. And if they ask me directly, what happened with you and your ex-husband? We didn't have the same values, and there were just some things that were just really important to me that he wasn't able to I would say though, anytime people ask you questions like that, make sure you include your own stuff. Make sure because then it looks like you're not reflective. And everybody plays a part, even if it's 90-10 or 50-50. Keep it like real surfacey. How come you don't speak to your dad? He lives right up the block. You told me, right? Well, my father and I, we just really don't see eye to eye. And there was some conflict in my teens that I just really wasn't able to get over. I've tried to speak with him and he's just not really open. And so I've decided that it's just best that we keep our distance. I still love him and I wish him the best. Perfect. That's it, sir. I don't know you. Leave me alone.
Peace. Okay. What, wait, where was the last one? How long do you think it really takes to get to know someone? So in the age of love bombing, where it come on really fast, really strong, what is a good length of time in your opinion and based on your clients? Because if y'all didn't know, Allison's clients are out here getting these rings, getting into relationships. And yes, that is the goal for a lot of people, right? I'm going to have you talk about Snatch a Spouse in just a second. However, I don't want to say but, however, what is a reasonable time to build a reasonable relationship and not this quick, in a hurry, rushing type of thing?
Yep. So similar to the timeline that I just gave, within reason, right? So these are very general statements. If we're both working 9 to 5s, if we're talking every other or communicating every day on the phone, every other day, if we're going out on dates every week within approximately 3 months, that will be enough time for me to know that I can take this to the next level with you, meaning that I'm no longer engaging in dates and conversations with other gentlemen, and I am investing all of my time that I can outside of work and family obligations into this gentleman. So 3 months is a reasonable amount of time to move from dating to a committed relationship. Now, if y'all don't live in the same city, y'all work opposite schedules, anything along those lines that doesn't allow for the amount of frequency of everyday 90 conversations and 12 outings is enough. But if you don't have a schedule, you don't have the city, you don't have the whatever, then you could use that math accordingly. So that may take you 4 months. It may take you 6 months. It may take you 9 months, which is why I'm against long distance dating. Because I ain't got time. Long distance relationship is different. We're in a committed relationship and opportunity arises. You need to transfer to an office in another city because you're getting a promotion and maybe I can meet you there. We're already in love. So it is reasonable for me to uproot my life to be with you. Okay. Long distance dating, I ain't got time for that. There's enough people in my city. You in LA, you in Miami, you in Chicago, you in Philly. Come on. There's enough people in my city. I ain't got time for that.
Well, we don't need to answer that long distance question that keeps popping up in the chat. We ain't got time for that, sis. So for people who do have time for you though, Allison, because as you mentioned, we will invest time, effort, energy, and dollars into every other area of our lives. But when it comes to love, we think God is just going to magically drop this mate in our lap. And that ain't always how it happens. And so for people who want more of you and want more customized, specific answers, and really the hand holding that I think you provide inside of your program, talk a little bit about your program, and then also what can they get with this Snatch a Spouse?
Yes, absolutely. So, again, for those who are jumping in, my name is Allison, certified dating and relationship coach, and I work with busy professional women to move them from discouraged with dating into healthy, happy marriages. And I have over 250 testimonials to attest to just that. Women who are young, old, divorced, never been in a relationship, mommies or not moms, it doesn't matter. It's a proven system and it works. So I offer live coaching as well as a course. And the course, as you see, ticketed across the bottom, is Snatch a Spouse. So the Snatch a Spouse course is a course that's made for 8 weeks, but it is self-paced, where it teaches you exactly what you need to do to learn how to navigate dating successfully so that you can get into the committed relationship. I have a lot of folks who say they want to be married, and before we get married, we got to be a fiance. Before we're a fiance, we got to be a girlfriend. And before we're a girlfriend, we have to learn how to date successfully. So Snatch a Spouse teaches you both how to date successfully and get in a committed relationship with the partner that you deserve so that you can get to that vision of not only walking down the aisle, but being healthy and happy in your marriage. So again, Snatch a Spouse, it is made to be an 8-week course, but you take it at your speed. It is $497 until Friday. So this is a time for you to snatch the course, Snatch a Spouse. And I teach you in 8 modules, multiple videos, workbooks, all kind of stuff, how to navigate dating successfully. That's what it is.
That's what it is, y'all. It is not the shortcut, but I would say the accelerated line, right? We're accelerating the process. The process is the process, but putting yourself in front of somebody who is going to tell you the truth, who's going to hold you accountable and give you all of the resources so that you can actually take action. Allison is that girl. Okay. Align with Allison on all social platforms. Her podcast, The Single Season, is full of gems. When do you do your live show now, Allison? Because we got so many more questions. They're going to have to submit them how you do them. So let them know that where they can do that.
Yep. So folks, you can subscribe to my YouTube. Same thing at Align with Allison. And every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. on YouTube, I take your questions live. So all you have to do is drop it in the chat and I answer your questions ad nauseum. So that's every Wednesday for the live Q&A, obviously free and available to everybody. And then every Monday, I have Marriage Mondays where I create videos around how to build a healthy, successful, happy marriage. So Wednesday live, Monday new videos.
Perfect. Thank you. And that literally answered the last question that came in around marriage counseling for couples. So follow on YouTube Mondays. She's doing Marriage Monday videos. So check her out there. Align with Allison. Any place that you like to hang out on these social media streets is where you can find her. Always a pleasure, Allison. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I got to go put the baby down. I'm in her room. I'm in her room. So I got to get out of here.
All right, y'all. Listen, was that thebomb.com or what? Again, I'm not even going to wait for you to tell me in the chat because I've been here with y'all. I've been here and I have been learning and growing and appreciating all of the gems, all of the perspectives, all of the personal stories, all of the honesty and authenticity that we were able to offer y'all tonight. This is what I need for y'all to do for me. 2 things. One thing I need for you to do is make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on YouTube before you log off. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have podcasts that are dropping almost every day of the week. Okay. If you did not know, Grown Woman TV is a podcast network created by a Black woman for Black women just like you. The Single Season podcast with Allison Wellington is one of our podcasts that you can watch here on YouTube or stream on our Grown Woman TV Roku app. So hit the subscribe button. The other thing that I need for you to do, take a screenshot, share your notes, share a takeaway, share your feedback, and tag me over on Instagram at Coriel or at Grown Woman TV so that I can share your reviews. Okay. This is the first, but definitely not the last Single Wives Live. If you are a single woman who is preparing to become a wife and you want to position yourself to be loved properly, stick around, subscribe so that you will be notified when we present our next live. Love y'all. I got nothing but love for you, and I want nothing but love for you. Peace out, and I'll catch you on the next Single Wives Live.